Salvage Op 1138 to control. We've got another dead one. Marcus Reynolds' voice crackled through the quantum comm as he maneuvered his EVA suit around the twisted hulk of yet another derelict ship. The debris field stretched for kilometers, a graveyard of vessels from a dozen different alien civilizations. Copy that, Reynolds. Anything worth bringing back. Control's response came with the usual 3-second delay. Even with quantum entanglement, light speed remained an annoying constraint at these distances. Negative. Just more. Wait. His helmet lights caught something unusual. Pristine metal gleaming amid the wreckage. I'm picking up unusual readings from Sector 7. It's different. The object was perfectly spherical, about the size of a basketball, its surface unmarred despite being surrounded by destruction. Unlike the other debris, which showed signs of weapons fire or collision damage, this sphere looked as if it had just rolled off an assembly line. Different how? Control's interest was piqued. After 3 months of cataloging space junk, different was worth its weight in antimatter. It's got some kind of quantum signature I've never seen before. No radiation, no heat signature, just, hold on, it's doing something. The sphere's surface rippled like liquid mercury, and a soft blue light emerged from its core. Marcus reached out, his gloved hand barely brushing its surface. The reaction was immediate and unexpected. The sphere split open like a blooming flower, revealing an interior filled with crystalline structures. Control, you getting this? Marcus activated his suit's external cameras. Whatever this is, it's definitely not salvage. Looks like some kind of data storage device. Before Control could respond, the crystals pulsed with light. A holographic display erupted from the sphere, filling the space around Marcus with alien text and star charts. The salvage operator froze, mesmerized by the swirling display of information. Running translation protocols now, his suit's AI announced. Warning, unknown language detected. Attempting pattern matching. Minutes passed as Marcus floated in space, surrounded by the mysterious projection. Finally, his suit's AI spoke again. Partial translation achieved. Warning message detected. Priority level. Maximum. The translated text appeared in Marcus' heads-up display. Asterisk attention. All SPACEFARING species asterisk. Asterisk. The following coordinates have been marked as forbidden asterisk. Asterisk. These locations contain lost sanctuaries. Refuge worlds created for the preservation of endangered civilizations asterisk. Asterisk. Do not attempt to locate or access these sites asterisk. Asterisk. Previous exploration attempts. 2,847 asterisk. Asterisk. Successful returns. 0 asterisk. Asterisk. This warning is repeated in 47,293 languages asterisk. Asterisk. The preservers absolve themselves of all responsibility for loss of life or civilization asterisk. Below the warning was a series of spatial coordinates, enough to fill a small database, each one marked with the same symbol, what the translation software interpreted as Sanctuary /DEAT Hildoro. Control. Marcus' voice was barely a whisper now. I think we just found something big. Really big. Copy that, Reynolds. Prepare for emergency retrieval. Whatever you found, the suits upstairs are going to want to see it. As Marcus secured the sphere for transport, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just stumbled onto something far more significant than mere salvage. The warning was clear enough. Stay away. Certain death. Forbidden. But there was something else, something in the way the message was constructed. It almost seemed like a challenge. 3 days later, the sphere sat in a high-security lab on Luna Base, surrounded by Earth's top xenorchaeologists and military officials. Dr. Alexandra Blackwood ran her fingers over its now dormant surface, her mind racing with possibilities. It's not just a warning, she announced to the assembled crowd. It's a test. Think about it. Why leave coordinates if you truly want people to stay away? Why make it accessible to any passing salvage operator? She pulled up the holographic display, pointing to specific patterns in the data. These aren't just coordinates, they're breadcrumbs. Someone wanted these sanctuaries to be found by the right kind of people. The room erupted in heated debate, but Blackwood barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the sphere, its surface occasionally rippling as if in response to her touch. She'd spent her career studying the mysteries left behind by ancient alien civilizations, but this was different. This wasn't just a discovery. This was an invitation. The Galactic Council's emergency session stretched into its fourth hour. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations argued back and forth, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the increasingly heated debate. At the center of it all stood Dr. Alexandra Blackwood, Earth's chief xenorchaeologist, maintaining her composure despite the chaos. "You cannot be serious." Ambassador Kethel of the Regellian Consortium clicked his mandibles in agitation. "Your species has barely mastered faster than light travel, and now you propose to investigate the very sanctuaries that have claimed thousands of our best explorers." With all due respect, Ambassador, Blackwood activated a holographic display, showing the sphere's data patterns. "We're not proposing blind exploration. We've spent the last 3 months analyzing the warning message's structure, and we found something fascinating." The hologram zoomed in on a particular sequence. "These patterns aren't random. They're part of a sophisticated filtering system. The warning itself is a key." A murmur rippled through the assembly. The Arcturian delegate, a being of pure energy contained within an environmental suit, moved forward. "Explain." "The message doesn't just say, 'Stay away.'" Blackwood highlighted specific sequences. "It provides exact coordinates, detailed death statistics, and specific warnings about what not to do. That's not how you write a warning if you truly want no one to ever find something. That's how you write a warning if you want to test who's willing to look deeper." Or perhaps, the Centaurian representative's tentacles writhed in what their species considered laughter. "That's simply what you humans want to believe. Your species is notorious for ignoring clear warnings." Back on Earth, the situation was equally contentious. Dr. Blackwood's inbox was flooded with messages from private corporations, military organizations, and independent research groups, all wanting a piece of the action. The sphere had become the scientific community's new obsession. In her lab at Luna Base, Blackwood reviewed applications for her expedition team. The holographic displays showed profiles of hundreds of candidates, each bringing unique skills to the table. But she wasn't just looking for technical expertise. "Dr. Marcus Reynolds," she murmured, pulling up the profile of the salvage operator who'd found the sphere. His psychological evaluation showed high scores in creative problem-solving and adaptability. More importantly, he'd demonstrated remarkable restraint in his initial encounter with the artifact. Still obsessing over personnel files, Dr. James Chen, her longtime colleague, entered the lab with 2 cups of coffee. "The Galactic Council's officially voting tomorrow on whether to sanction the expedition. They'll vote no." Blackwood took the offered coffee. "And it won't matter. 3 private expeditions are already preparing to launch, with or without approval. If we don't move fast, someone's going to rush in without proper preparation. And you think we'll be more successful?" James raised an eyebrow. "The Arcturians lost an entire fleet trying to access just one sanctuary. The Regellians' best scientific minds disappeared without a trace." Blackwood pulled up another display, ancient Earth texts about long-lost cities, hidden temples, and forbidden knowledge. Every major archaeological discovery in human history came with warnings. "Curse of the Pharaohs. Here be dragons. Abandon all hope." And yet we explored. We learned. We understood. "And sometimes people died," James pointed out. "Yes," she acknowledged, "but we also learned that most of those warnings weren't meant to keep everyone out, just the wrong people, the ones who'd exploit or destroy what they found." The next morning, As the Galactic Council predictably voted to forbid any exploration of the Sanctuaries, Blackwood's team was already assembling. She'd selected 6 individuals, each chosen not just for their skills, but for their approach to the unknown. Marcus Reynolds, the salvage operator with an artist's touch. Dr. Sarah Chen, quantum physicist and game theory specialist. Captain Maria Hernandez, whose first contact protocols had become standard training. Each member brought something unique, not just expertise, but perspective. They think we're reckless. Blackwood addressed her team as they prepared for launch. That humans rush in where angels fear to tread. But that's not what this is about. We're not ignoring the warning. We're understanding it. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the preservers were waiting for. The stellar horizon emerged from its final FTL jump with a shudder that rattled everyone's teeth. Through the bridge's observation window, the sanctuary loomed, a structure that defied conventional physics and human imagination alike. "Sweet Mother of God," Marcus whispered from his station. The salvage operator had seen his share of megastructures, but nothing like this. The sanctuary wasn't simply a space station or artificial world. It was a cascade of interconnected environments, each one seemingly folding into the next like an impossible origami creation. Crystalline spires pierced what appeared to be oceanic bubbles suspended in space, while geometric landscapes wrapped around themselves in endless Mobius strips of terrain. Energy readings are complex, Dr. Sarah Miller reported, her fingers dancing across the sensor displays. Each segment appears to operate under its own distinct physical laws. It's like someone took a dozen different planetary environments and wove them together. Captain Hernandez kept the ship at a respectful distance, mindful of the fate that had befallen previous expeditions. "Dr. Blackwood, your call. How do we approach this?" Alexandra studied the holographic display generated from the sphere they'd brought with them. The warning message was cycling through new patterns now, responding to their proximity to the sanctuary. "The other expeditions treated this like a fortress to be breached," she said, highlighting specific sections of the structure. "But look at the design. Those aren't just defensive measures. They're adapting to us, scanning us, testing us." A sudden alert blared through the ship. "Multiple contacts," Marcus called out. "Small objects, approaching fast." Dozens of crystalline probes, each no larger than a human fist, surrounded the stellar horizon. Their surfaces rippled with the same mercurial patterns as the warning sphere. "No aggressive energy signatures," Miller reported. "They're scanning us." The probes projected interconnected beams of light, creating a web of energy around the ship. In the center of the bridge, a holographic interface materialized, intricate and alien, but somehow familiar. "It's a puzzle box," Alexandra breathed, recognition dawning. The entire sanctuary is one massive puzzle box. The preservers didn't want to keep everyone out. They wanted to ensure only those who could solve it would get in. The holographic interface shifted, presenting what appeared to be a series of interconnected challenges. Each solution seemed to unlock a new layer, revealing more of the sanctuary's true nature. "Traditional logic isn't going to work here," Alexandra noted, studying the patterns. "The preservers built this to test more than just intelligence. Look at how the challenges adapt. They're testing our approach, our methodology." Hours passed as the team worked through the puzzle's layers. Where the Arcturians had tried to force their way through with pure computational power, and the Rigelians had attempted to decrypt it as a purely mathematical challenge, the humans took a different approach. They played with it. Alexandra's team treated each challenge not as a barrier to be overcome, but as a conversation to be had. They experimented, failed, learned, and tried again. Each failure revealed new information, and each success felt less like breaking through and more like being invited in. "Final sequence accepting input," Miller announced, her voice tense with anticipation. The sanctuary's outer layer shimmered, and a massive portal began to open. But instead of the expected docking procedure, the entire ship was enveloped in a field of translucent energy. "We're being pulled in," Captain Hernandez reported, surprisingly calm. "All systems functioning normally, but controls are locked out." Through the observation window, they watched as their ship was guided through layers of shifting reality, each environment more extraordinary than the last. The warning sphere pulsed with new information, its message changing. "Welcome, pattern seekers," Alexandra translated. "You have passed the first test." Marcus turned to her, eyebrow raised. "First test." She smiled, despite the gravity of their situation. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" The stellar horizon drifted powerless in what appeared to be a massive containment chamber. Around them, holographic displays showed their ship being systematically scanned and analyzed. They'd been trapped here for 6 hours, each system shutting down one by one despite their best efforts to maintain control. "Well," Marcus quipped from his darkened station, "at least we lasted longer than the Arcturians." "Quiet," Dr. Miller ordered, her fingers flying over her backup tablet. "I'm picking up something strange in these energy patterns. They're not random shutdowns. There's a sequence." Dr. Blackwood studied the failing systems through her own display. The emergency lights cast everything in a red glow, making the holographic readouts sting almost blood-like as they floated in the bridge's darkness. "The ship's not being disabled," she suddenly announced. "It's being reprogrammed. Look at the pattern. It's similar to how the warning sphere adapted to our presence." Captain Hernandez frowned. "You're saying this is another test?" "No." Alexandra's eyes widened with realization. "It's an upgrade. The Sanctuary isn't trying to stop us. It's trying to make us compatible." As if in response to her words, the ship's systems began reactivating. But differently. The displays showed new interfaces, impossible readings, and functions that shouldn't exist in human technology. "Our quantum processors are now operating at. This can't be right." Miller stared at her readings. "They're processing in 11 dimensions. That's not possible with our current understanding of physics." The ship lurched forward, guided by an unseen force, through a series of translucent barriers. Each passage changed something about their environment. Gravity shifted, light behaved differently, even time seemed to flow at varying rates. The previous expeditions, Alexandra theorized while reviewing the warning sphere's updated data, they all tried to preserve their ship's integrity. They fought against these changes, tried to maintain their own technology's purity. But that's not what this place wants. Marcus watched as his salvage sensors transformed, showing him layers of reality he'd never known existed. "It's not just testing our problem-solving. It's testing our ability to adapt, to accept change." A new hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, displaying thousands of small points of light. Each one, they realized, represented a previous expedition that had attempted to enter the Sanctuary. "Look at their patterns." Alexandra highlighted various approach vectors. Every single species tried to force their way through, to impose their own understanding on the Sanctuary's systems. Even when they attempted to solve the puzzles, they did it by brute-forcing solutions that matched their existing knowledge. The display zoomed in on their own ship's approach path, a dramatically different pattern that showed numerous course corrections, adaptations, and learning moments. "We're the first ones to let it change us," she concluded. "To actually learn instead of just trying to understand through our own preconceptions." Suddenly, the ship's new systems detected something massive approaching. Through the viewing ports, they watched as a section of the Sanctuary's wall simply unfolded. There was no other word for it. Space itself seemed to peel back like the pages of a book, revealing a hidden realm beyond. "No wonder the other expeditions failed," Miller breathed, watching her instruments trying to make sense of what they were seeing. "They were looking for a way in, but there is no in. At least not in three-dimensional space." "Final approach vector locked in," Hernandez reported, having finally begun to understand the ship's new interfaces. "Whatever's through there, we're about to be the first ones to see it." Alexandra held up the warning sphere, which now pulsed with a warm, inviting light. Its surface had transformed into a perfect mirror of the portal ahead of them. Not the first ones, she corrected, watching as ancient data patterns resolved into recognizable forms. We're just the first ones to come as students rather than conquerors. The stellar horizon passed through the dimensional barrier, its human crew holding their breath as reality shifted around them one final time. What they saw next would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. They had finally been deemed worthy of meeting the guardians of the lost sanctuaries. The dimensional barrier parted like a curtain of liquid light, revealing a sight that left the entire crew speechless. Before them stretched an impossible space, a vast chamber that somehow existed in multiple phases of reality simultaneously. In one layer, crystalline beings of pure energy drifted through geometric gardens. In another, massive aquatic entities conducted what appeared to be complex experiments in floating spheres of water. Each layer contained different species, all coexisting in the same space while operating under their own physical laws. Multiple biosignatures detected, Miller reported, her voice barely a whisper. I'm counting. Hundreds of distinct species. Maybe thousands. They're not just surviving here, Marcus observed, his salvage operator's eye picking up subtle details. They're thriving, building, creating. The stellar horizon's new systems interfaced seamlessly with the environment, guiding them through the layers of reality toward what appeared to be a central hub. As they approached, Alexandra noticed something odd about the various species' behavior. They're not surprised to see us, she realized. They've been watching our progress through the tests. We're not intruders. We're expected. A delegation awaited them at the docking station, representatives from a dozen different species, each existing in their own environmental bubble that somehow merged perfectly with the others. Their ship's new systems automatically generated appropriate atmospheric conditions for the crew to exit safely. Welcome, pattern seekers, a melodic voice echoed in their minds. The greeting came from a beam of shifting crystal and light, who stood at the forefront of the delegation. I am Horizon Singer, speaker for the Sanctuary Council. Alexandra stepped forward, but before she could speak, alarms blared throughout the station. On their sensors, they detected another ship attempting to breach the Sanctuary's outer layers, violently. The Saturn Corp expedition, Hernandez growled. They must have followed our solution pattern. The Sanctuary's defenses engaged, but the intruding ship had clearly studied their approach. They were forcing their way through using brute computational power to replicate the solutions without understanding them. Help us stop them. Horizon Singer's voice carried unexpected emotion. Prove that our faith in your species was not misplaced. Alexandra turned to her crew. Miller, can you use our new systems to communicate with their ship? Already on it. The scientists' fingers flew across the transformed interface. Their AI is trying to brute force the dimensional barriers. If I can just. The Sanctuary shuddered as Saturn Corp's ship pushed through another layer. But Miller had managed to establish a connection, and Alexandra's voice rang through their communication system. This is Dr. Alexandra Blackwood. You need to stop. The Sanctuary isn't a fortress to be breached. It's a living library. Every forced entry damages countless irreplaceable artifacts and beings. Step aside, Blackwood, a familiar voice responded. Director Richards from the Luna Board. You've shown us the way in. Now let the professionals handle this. Alexandra looked at Horizon Singer, then at the layers of reality around them, each one housing wonders beyond imagination. She made a decision. Miller, give me access to their ship's sensor feeds. Let them see what we see. Through the connection, the Saturn Corp crew suddenly found their screens filled with images of the Sanctuary's true nature, not just its defenses and technology, but its people. Children of crystalline energy playing in geometric gardens. Ancient beings of pure thought teaching younger species about dimensional mathematics. A civilization of cooperative species, each one contributing to a greater whole. The attacking ship's weapons powered down. We thought it was automated, just machines and traps. Richard's voice had lost its aggressive edge. We didn't know. That was the point. Alexandra replied softly. The Sanctuary doesn't just protect knowledge, it protects people. And now you have a choice. Keep attacking, or learn why the Preservers really built this place. The Sanctuary's barriers rippled, and a new portal opened. An invitation. Welcome, Pattern Seekers. Horizon Singer broadcast to both ships. Shall we begin your first lesson? The merged crews of both human expeditions followed Horizon Singer through corridors that defied Euclidean geometry. Director Richards and his team had been thoroughly humbled by their first glimpse of the Sanctuary's true nature, but Alexandra noticed they still clutched their tablets, recording everything they saw. Some habits died hard. You believe you have discovered our purpose. Horizon Singer's crystalline form shimmered as they walked. A refuge for endangered species, a library of lost knowledge. But that is merely the surface. They entered what appeared to be a massive spherical chamber, but as Alexandra's eyes adjusted, she realized the walls weren't walls at all. They were windows into other times. Different epochs of galactic history played out around them like living murals. The Preservers, Horizon Singer gestured to one window showing beings of pure energy constructing the first sanctuary, foresaw a cycle of civilization that repeats across millennia. Species rise, achieve greatness, and then the scene shifted to show worlds burning, civilizations falling. They destroy themselves or each other. That's why you save endangered species, Miller theorized, but Horizon Singer's crystalline form pulsed with what seemed like amusement. We do not merely save them, Dr. Miller. We preserve their essence, their potential. The being guided them to a central platform where a holographic display materialized. Observe. The display showed hundreds of sanctuaries scattered across the galaxy, each one containing not just refugee species, but entire civilizations' worth of knowledge, culture, and technological advancement. Seeds, Alexandra breathed, understanding dawning. You're not just preserving what was. You're preparing for what will be. Correct, Dr. Blackwood. When the current galactic civilizations inevitably fall, as all before them have, these sanctuaries will ensure life and knowledge survive. We will guide the next cycle of species, help them avoid the mistakes of their predecessors. Director Richards stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his earlier shame. But why test us? Why not simply share this knowledge? Horizon Singer's form shifted, displaying scenes from dozens of failed expeditions. Power without wisdom brings only destruction. The tests ensure that only those with the capacity to learn, to adapt, to understand beyond their own limited perspective can access our knowledge. And we passed. Marcus asked. You specifically passed. The being turned to Alexandra. Your approach, treating our defenses as a dialogue rather than a barrier, seeking to understand rather than overcome, it was unique among all attempts in the last 1,000 years. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The temporal windows flickered, showing a massive fleet approaching the sanctuary. The Regellian Consortium. Captain Hernandez recognized the ship's configurations. They must have tracked both our expeditions. They believe you have breached our defenses. Horizon Singer's form pulsed with concern. They come to claim our knowledge by force, fearing humans will gain advantage over them. Alexandra watched the approaching fleet, her mind racing. You said we passed the test. What exactly does that mean? What can we access? Everything, Horizon Singer replied. The Sanctuary's full systems, its defenses, its knowledge. But wielding such power without proper understanding would prove we're no different than those who failed before. Alexandra finished. She turned to her crew and the Saturn Corp team. We need to show them what we learned. Not just tell them. Show them why force isn't the answer. The chamber hummed with energy as the Sanctuary's systems responded to their first truly authorized users in centuries. But Alexandra didn't reach for the weapons controls or defensive systems. Instead, she accessed the Sanctuary's communication array, the same one that had first broadcast the warning that started their journey. You're going to try to talk to them? Director Richards asked incredulously. while they're preparing to attack. Alexandra's fingers danced across the holographic controls, composing a message that would reach not just the Rigelian fleet, but every spacefaring species in range. "No," she smiled. "I'm going to invite them to learn." The Rigelian fleet's ultimatum echoed through the Sanctuaries' communication systems. "Surrender control of the facility, or we will take it by force. You have 1 standard hour to comply." Alexandra stood at the Sanctuary's primary interface, surrounded by temporal windows showing possible futures branching out from this moment. Most of them ended in destruction. The Sanctuary's defensive systems were formidable, but using them would only prove the Rigelians right about humanity's intentions. "They're deploying boarding pods," Miller reported, watching the tactical display. Quantum signatures matched the ones used in their previous attempts. They're trying every breach point from the last 1,000 years simultaneously. Director Richards had been studying the Sanctuary's historical records. The Rigelians have tried to claim a sanctuary 8 times before, each attempt more aggressive than the last. "But this time is different," Alexandra said, her fingers moving across the holographic controls. "This time, we're not going to fight them." Horizon Singer's crystalline form pulsed with curiosity. "You have full access to our defensive grid. The Preserver's weapons could vaporize their fleet in seconds. Exactly why we won't use them." Alexandra turned to her crew. "Marcus, remember how you found the warning sphere? What did you do first?" The salvage operator smiled, understanding. "I reached out to touch it. No weapons, no scans. Just made contact." The sphere responded to intention. Alexandra continued. "The whole sanctuary does. It's not just about solving puzzles. It's about approaching with the right mindset." She faced the tactical display. "And we're going to show them that." As the Rigelian boarding pods approached, Alexandra initiated a sanctuary-wide protocol. Instead of activating defenses, she began broadcasting images throughout the facility. Memories from Earth's history. The great library of Alexandria burning. The destruction of irreplaceable artifacts in countless wars. But also, archaeologists carefully preserving ancient sites, historians protecting knowledge through dark ages, scientists sharing discoveries freely with the world. "What are you doing?" Director Richards demanded. "Showing them who we are," Alexandra replied. "Not just humans, but students of history. We know the cost of lost knowledge better than most. We've burned our own libraries, destroyed our own wonders. But we've also learned from those mistakes. The boarding pods breached the outer layers, but instead of finding weapons arrays and defense grids, they encountered something unexpected. Each pod's crew found themselves in a different chamber of human history. Holographic recreations of humanity's greatest moments of preservation and protection. Their weapons' signatures are powering down," Miller reported, surprised. They're watching." Through the sanctuary systems, Alexandra addressed the Rigelian fleet directly. "You see us as threats because we achieved what you couldn't. But we didn't conquer this place. We learned from it. And now we invite you to do the same." The temporal windows shifted, showing new possibilities. Futures where species learned from each other, where knowledge was preserved and shared rather than hoarded or destroyed. Horizon Singer moved to Alexandra's side, their crystalline form resonating with approval. "In all our years of testing species, none have ever attempted this approach. You could have destroyed them. Instead, you chose to teach." "That's what libraries are for," Alexandra smiled. "And isn't that what this place really is? The greatest library in the galaxy." The Rigelian Supreme Commander's image appeared on the main display. His mandibles clicked thoughtfully as he spoke. "You have access to the most powerful weapons in known space, yet you show us history lessons." "We show you ourselves," Alexandra corrected. "Our mistakes, our learning, our growth. You came expecting a weapon. We're offering something far more valuable. A chance to learn from history instead of repeating it." There was a long pause before the commander responded. Perhaps we have something to learn from humans after all." Horizon Singer's form brightened considerably. Now you understand why they were chosen. 3 months after the Regelian standoff, the Galactic Council chamber was packed beyond capacity. Representatives from every known spacefaring species had gathered for what many were calling the most significant diplomatic event in millennia. Alexandra stood before them, flanked by Horizon Singer and, surprisingly, the Regelian Supreme Commander. The warning remains. Alexandra addressed the assembly, her voice carrying across the chamber. But its meaning has changed. The sanctuaries are not places to fear, but neither are they prizes to be claimed. Behind her, a holographic display showed the new message being broadcast across the galaxy. Attention, ALSPACEFARING species. The following coordinates mark sanctuary locations under human stewardship. All species seeking knowledge or refuge are welcome. But remember, these are places of learning, not conquest. Those who come to take will be turned away. Those who come to learn will be welcomed. The choice is yours. Humanity has been granted a role we never sought. Alexandra continued, but one we're uniquely suited for. We will serve as custodians, not rulers. Teachers, not gatekeepers. The chamber erupted in a mix of protests and questions. A Centaurian representative rose, their tentacles writhing. You expect us to trust humans with the greatest repository of knowledge in the galaxy. Your species is barely out of its stellar cradle. The Regelian Supreme Commander stepped forward. 3 months ago, I led a fleet to seize that knowledge by force. The humans could have destroyed us. Instead, they showed us something more valuable than any weapon or technology. What could be more valuable than the Preserver's weapons? Someone called out. Perspective. The commander clicked his mandibles. They showed us ourselves. All of us. Our cycles of violence, our repeated mistakes, but also our potential for growth. Horizon Singer's crystalline form pulsed with approval. The Preservers built the sanctuaries not just to preserve knowledge, but to ensure it would be shared wisely. For millennia, we tested species, seeking one that understood this fundamental truth. Director Richards, now serving as Earth's official sanctuary liaison, activated another display. It showed dozens of research teams, mixed groups of humans, and aliens working together in various sanctuary chambers. In the 3 months since the standoff, we've established joint research initiatives with 17 species, he reported. Every participant undergoes the same trials we faced. The sanctuaries remain secure, but accessible to those who approach with the right intention. And what of the weapons? An Arcturian delegate demanded. The defensive systems. Alexandra smiled. They remain exactly where they are, inactive and unnecessary. The sanctuary's greatest defense isn't their weapons. It's understanding their true purpose. She gestured to the temporal windows surrounding the chamber, each showing different moments from the past 3 months. Regelian scholars working alongside human historians, Centaurian scientists collaborating with sanctuary archivists, even the notoriously isolationist Arcturus Collective sending their first students. We're not here to announce human control of the sanctuaries, Alexandra declared. We're here to invite all of you to join us in preserving and understanding the greatest library ever created. The warning remains, not as a threat, but as a reminder. These places will never be conquered, because they belong to all of us. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Horizon Singer moved to Alexandra's side, their voice reaching every mind present. The cycle can be broken. The mistakes of the past need not be repeated. That is what humanity showed us, not by their words, but by their actions. They stand now not as conquerors, but as teachers, not as warriors, but as students. This is why they were chosen. As the council session concluded, Alexandra found Marcus staring at the warning sphere he'd found all those months ago. Its surface now shimmered with a warm, inviting light. You know, he mused, for a warning sign, it makes a pretty good welcome mat. Alexandra laughed. That's humanity for you. We've never been very good at staying away from places we're told to avoid. Lucky for the galaxy, Horizon Singer chimed in, that humans never could resist a good mystery.